A symbol is anything that is agreed upon to designate something else. The advantage of symbols is that they may communicate complex concepts while being simple in and of themselves. Most symbols are simple drawings that consist of a few pen strokes, while other symbols are objects or actions. The diamond on a wedding ring, for instance, is a symbol. Imagine all the things that can be inferred about a husband who gives his wife a wedding ring mounted with a piece of glass or a random pebble instead of a diamond. An apple is just a fruit, and yet has been commonly associated with education, wisdom, and teachers. A wink is an action, but also a symbol. It is often used to communicate sexual interest, or to convey a hint. The symbol, whether it's a drawing, action, or object, often conveys a message far more complex than the symbol itself. The foundation of all symbols is agreement. When a symbol is repeatedly used in the same context, agreement regarding that symbol's meaning is formed. As time progresses, the symbol's meaning solidifies. If symbols are used randomly, with constantly changing meanings and associations, they fail to be symbols at all. After all, what good is a symbol that means something different each and every time you see it? Illuminati symbolism, used in popular culture such as movies, novels, and TV shows, isn't used randomly either. Believing that all-seeing eyes, pyramids, and suns are inserted into random places in a movie is an easy mistake to make. But let's think about that. Let me take you to a backward universe where the meaning of symbols is arbitrary and random. A world where hospital signs lead to fire stations and elementary schools. A world where the play and pause symbols have no bearing on what the buttons actually do. A world where radiation signs, biohazard symbols, don't walk signs, and dollar signs are placed randomly throughout the city and used interchangeably. You get the idea. If used randomly and without repeating context, the symbol fails to be a symbol at all. We don't use symbols randomly. We can't afford to, and neither can the Illuminati. The Illuminati is more dependent on symbols than most, and the reason is that it allows for secure communication no matter where the messages are located. As long as the masses are kept outside of that symbol's agreed upon meaning, any message can be hidden in plain sight. And, as stated earlier, not all symbols are drawings. This is so important to remember as we move forward.
When you go shopping, watch TV, read a magazine, or walk through the city, how well do you pay attention to the assault of logos that invade your space? Have you noticed the same symbols that show up in thousands of logos? Or have you fallen into a media-induced slumber, accustomed to the assault? Humanity has been conditioned by symbolism, and today we are bombarded by logos. The average American is exposed to 600 commercial messages each day. Some symbols and messages we recognize, and some we don't. And what we don't understand can be used against us.
guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. By now, the majority of you have seen this new symbolism surrounding the Democrat Party. What you're looking at here is the symbolism for the Democrat Party 2020. It didn't take long for a lot of people to start noticing there was something strange about the star in the D. This world is ruled by Luciferians, by sorcerers, by witches. And we're also living in a time where everything is being revealed. Everything that's been hidden in the shadows is coming to light. So in this process, as we leave the fourth age and we're into the fifth age now, the last age of man, all truth is coming out. And oftentimes it's these symbols that will tell us the truth before anything else. We can see through the actions of the left in America that it's completely satanic. There's a spirit there that's come to steal, kill, and destroy everything. So we shouldn't be surprised when the symbols fill in the gaps, they fill in the blanks, and they show us the rest of the story. Now we can match the actions of the left in America with the symbolism. But there's one thing very important that I believe a lot of people missed on this. It's not just the Democrats that are using this symbolism. It's also the Republicans.
We historically in the United States, maybe George W. Bush and the Republicans, just for a moment, let's just imagine that possibly they actually went to the dark side. Historically, this five-pointed star was man, right? It meant man. It's the good thing. And if you flipped it upside down, the upside down five-pointed star with the goat, with his chinny chin chin and his ears and his horns, was the sign of Satan worshipers. It was a satanic star. Now, you can see on the American flag, our stars are right side up. All across America, you'll see symbols with five-pointed stars. The stars are right side up, the man stars. But around the year 2000, the Republican Party changed their logo from the stars being right side up to the stars being upside down. Coincided with the coming on the scene of George W. Bush and Karl Rove. Very strange.
So now we see that it's both major political parties in America using the same symbol, the Baphomet, the sigil of Satan. And also now we see clearly that it's Luciferians that run this entire system. And that's not to say that every Republican or Democrat is a Luciferian, but all of them are working within that Luciferian system. With all of that being said, currently it's the left in America that's truly showing its satanic roots.
Breaking, actually, that you broke on specific Democratic caucuses reciting the Pledge of Allegiance at the virtual convention, leaving out the words "under God." Let's take a listen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
David, this seems to be a pattern. You broke another story on a related topic back in 2012. What's going on here?
Well, right. Back in 2012, we broke the story about those words "under God" being left, or the word God being left out of the Democratic Party platform. Here, what you just saw there was the Democratic National Committee caucus. It was a Muslim Affairs Caucus, a meeting that the DNC was holding this week. They left the words "under God" out, as you just heard. Also, the LGBT caucus, that's what they call themselves at the DNC, also left the words "under God" out.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
College Democrats, Satanists, and witches team up to shut down Young Conservatives of Texas chapter. The University of North Texas College Democrats are allying with Satanists and witches to try and shut down the school's Young Conservatives of Texas chapter.
In relation to the left in America, this Antichrist spirit is manifesting in a lot of different ways. Remember that this is a hive mind of people we're dealing with, all of them under control by the same dark entity. I believe this is why I've stumbled upon another trend I'm seeing in the news over the last few years. More and more we're starting to see these stories that are speaking of guillotines. I believe that's in relation to what's to come, to people being led to guillotines who do not want to accept this new world order.
We need to address what happened on the lawn yesterday. Quite an event took place. The NDP had at least two members at a protest, the member from Davenport and the member from Windsor West. At the same time, mass protesters brought a bloodied guillotine to the grounds of Queen's Park. And you know what they did? They beheaded an effigy of the Premier. This is disgusting, and it is a sick act that has been condoned by the opposition. I am asking the members opposite to condemn yesterday's protest, apologize for their attendance at yesterday's event.
A bloody guillotine spotted on the front lawn here at Queen's Park during a protest yesterday is causing quite a stir. One sign spotted at the protest reads, "May history repeat itself. Chop, chop."
If Bernie was to lose, I would like to see Yellow Vest protests like here, stateside.
I'm already on Twitter following numerous groups around the country that are ready to organize Yellow Vest protests. Okay. I mean, I'm ready.
Let me know.
I'm ready to start tearing bricks up and start fighting.
Good.
I'm no cop, bro. I'll straight up get arms. I want to learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for the revolution, bro.
All right.
I'm telling you.
Good stuff.
Guillotine the rich.
Hell yeah. The guillotine's very humane too.
Yeah,
it's humane.
Support racial justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Yes. Do you affirm that white privilege is unfair and harmful to those who have it and to those who do not? Yes. Do you affirm that white privilege and the culture of white supremacy must be dismantled wherever it is present? Yes. Do you support racial equity, justice, and liberation for every person? Yes. Do you affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person? Yes. Therefore, from this day forward, will you strive to understand more deeply the injustice and suffering white privilege and white supremacy cause? Yes. Will you commit to help transform our church culture to one that is actively engaged in seeking racial justice and equity for everyone? Yes. Will you make a greater effort to treat all people with the same respect you expect to receive? Yes. Will you commit to developing the courage to live your beliefs and values of racial justice and equality? Yes. Will you strive to eliminate racial prejudice from your thoughts and actions so that you can better promote the racial justice efforts of our church? Yes. Will you renew and honor this pledge daily, knowing that our church and our community, our nation and our world will be better places because of our efforts. Yes. Let us pray.
What I'm going to show you here is 100% proof of the connection between witchcraft and Satanism and BLM and Antifa.
One of them is named Dr. Melina Abdullah, that she is a professor of African Studies at California State University, Los Angeles. She's having a Zoom-type conversation with Patrisse Cullors.
Maybe I'm sharing too much, but we become very intimate with the spirits that we call on regularly, right? Like each of them seems to have a different presence and personality. You know, I laugh a lot with Waukesha, you know, and I didn't meet her in her body, right? I met her through this work.
Oh, Lord. She said she laughs a lot with Waukesha, who she didn't meet in her body. You're going to find that Dr. Abdullah and Patrisse Cullors talks about summoning the spirits of the dead, using the power of the spirits of the dead in order to give them the ability to do what they're calling the so-called justice work. You're going to find that what they're describing is their adherence to the Yoruba religion of Ifa or Ifa, to where they are summoning dead spirits. If you think I'm laughing, because you might have heard many people saying, oh, you're making all of this noise about Black Lives Matter. It's just a hashtag. Oh, really? Listen to clip number 4. This is Patrisse Cullors.
It's a very important practice. Hashtags are, for us, are way more than a hashtag. It is literally almost resurrecting a spirit so they can work through us to get the work that we need to get done. I started to feel personally connected and responsible and accountable to them, both from a deeply political place, but also from a deeply spiritual place. And always, you know, in my tradition, you offer things that your loved one who passed away would want, you know, whether it's like honey or tobacco, things like that. And it's so important, not just for us to be in direct relationship to our people who've passed, but also for them to know we've remembered them. I believe so many of them work through us.
Now, in case you're wondering who that is speaking, that is Patrisse Cullors, co-founder of the Black Lives Matter organization, the same one you just heard saying we are trained Marxists. She is describing that, oh, you thought it was just a hashtag. It's more than hashtags. We are summoning our people from the dead. She said, in our tradition. What tradition is that? Where you offer things to people, and as a result of summoning them so frequently, we begin to develop a relationship where I become close with them. Melina Abdullah and Patrisse Cullors. Patrisse Cullors is one of the co-founders of the national, well now global BLM organization. Dr. Abdullah is a California State University professor, as well as founder of the BLM Los Angeles branch, and they're having a conversation about the spirituality that drives the Black Lives Matter movement.
And it took almost a year for me to realize that this movement is much more than a racial and social justice movement. At its core, it's a spiritual movement, because we're literally standing on spilled blood, right?
Yeah.
And you can't pretend like that's work that's just like some organizing work. That's, you know, that's some serious stuff, right?
You can't pretend it's some organizing. As Patrisse Cullors describes, that this type of spirituality is at the center of the BLM movement. Clip number 6.
Spirituality is at the center of Black Lives Matter. And I think that's not just for us. I feel like so many leaders and so many organizers are deeply engaged in a pretty important spiritual practice. I don't think I could do this work without that. I don't think I could do it as long as I've done it and as consistently. It feels like if I didn't do that, it would be antithetical to this work.
There's a video game series called Call of Duty, and recently they released a new video for their newest game. A lot of people were really freaking out when they saw this trailer. In the trailer, it features Yuri Bezmenov. He's a KGB defector from many years ago. And he gave a now infamous interview decades ago, where he explained how the Soviet Union can take over a country from the inside out. It's fascinating to see the interview now because we see everything he's talking about taking place currently in our country. It's also interesting that they use the programming tool, video games, to release this kind of truth. And they're doing the same thing now with sports, which of course is another programming tool of the beast system. But as mentioned, we're living in a time now where all truth is coming out. And all of these programming tools are now reflecting the same Antichrist agendas.
Understand what's going on around you. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. There's a slow process which we call active measures. The first stage being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. The next stage is destabilization. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. The next stage is crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, period of normalization. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfilled or not.
The Antichrist spirit is rising. We're seeing it manifesting all around us. Hatred, violence, destruction. We're also finding more and more of these high-profile events that are taking place, surrounded in occult symbolism. Oftentimes we find Masonic number coding taking place in a lot of these events. So we know this is all orchestrated, and it's not just orchestrated by individuals or small groups. This is all orchestrated by a spirit. So in these days, we draw closer to the Lord. It's really all you can do. So on that note, I want to thank you for watching the video. And whatever you do, don't live in fear. This is a decision time for everybody, for humanity. Choose your Heavenly Father. Choose the Creator. Because the enemy is making his appearance really soon. They're already laying the groundwork. That's what we're watching. Everything's being put into place and being set up for that final Savior of humanity, who will be a false light. So take care out there, stay aware, and until next time, I'll talk to you a little later.
These people are full of the devil. These people can't even be reasoned with. These are not people that you can talk to, and they already have given their soul to the devil. Are you with me? These people go through seances. These people drink blood. These people sacrifice children. Somebody said they don't do that. They sacrifice children at the highest levels in Hollywood. They drink blood of young kids. This is a fact.
Welcome to End Times Matrix News. My name is Tim Clark, and we have Chris with us today. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
And we have a very interesting topic, the Nazi swastika, 666, the heart of Lucifer, New Age World Order. So we're going to get into some of this interesting Nazi-related topic with the swastika today, but we're going to go back to the origins of the swastika. Not going to get really in-depth on this show, but it connects with our lives today. So we wanted to just keep tying things together. Where should we start with the swastika? Where should we start with the origins?
Well, we can start with the oldest alphabet of the Phoenicians that are the star constellations for each letter. And they are also the pathways on the Kabbalah tree. The Phoenician alphabet contains 22 letters. It was the writing of Phoenician, a northern Semitic language used by the civilization of Phoenicia. So the Phoenician alphabet derived from the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it became the most widely used writing systems spread by the Phoenician merchants across the Mediterranean world, where it evolved and was assimilated by many other cultures. The Paleo-Hebrew alphabet was directly derived from the Phoenician alphabet.
So we go way, 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 way back. We're going back to the Phoenicians. And where did the Phoenicians get the original alphabet?
Egyptian hieroglyphs.
So we're going back to Egypt. We go to Egypt a lot in our shows, don't we?
Yeah. The Phoenician alphabet derived from the Egyptian hieroglyphs of their star maps, because the Phoenician alphabet is actually a star map alphabet. Like the first letter of the alphabet would be Taurus, and it would be the Aleph symbol. The second letter would be Beth, would be Orion, and Gimel was Gemini.
You know, that makes a lot of sense to me because I was just recently studying Job, the oldest book in the Bible, and predating the Abrahamic covenant, they knew God's laws and things. Well, how did they know all these things? And it was this relation all the way back to Adam, this oral tradition, which of course would also mean the Mazzaroth, which was the constellations. And here we got tying the Phoenicians back to the hieroglyphic and then tying that back to the cosmology or the constellations. It's really fascinating to me that all language stems from a star map and it gets disseminated through the peoples of the world. And I think we had commented in either a previous show or discussing this, talking about the Tower of Babel and the dissemination of language, how it all broke down and was disseminated around the world. This is really interesting, going all the way back to the Mazzaroth and the star map.
The languages from the parent Phoenician alphabet were spread throughout different languages. And from this Phoenician star alphabet came Proto-Germanic rune alphabets, the oldest being Elder Futhark. The letter O is the Odal rune, also representing Taurus, just like the ox, the bull's head in older writings, and the eagle in Egypt because Zeus or Jupiter represents the eagle and the ox. The name of the Phoenician letter O meant eye, or An like in Hebrew. Its shape is a human eye inspired by the Egyptian hieroglyphs. The symbol means the Aleph and the Taw, the Alpha and the Omega, which is the false Christ, and the mark of the beast. It's the swastika in a different shape. And the Nazis used this symbol on a flag during World War II.
I became interested in the Odal rune. That's why we're mentioning it through doing research on that symbol. And we got into some extensive investigation and found out that it was related to the swastika. It was just another version of the swastika. And I noticed that in pop culture, because I'm trying to, of course, always connect current pop culture with conditioning. And this Odal rune keeps showing up in different shows. This rune, I began noticing it on certain actresses that were in certain shows. The first show I noticed that it was Mortal Instruments, City of Bones, a 2013 release, which basically discusses what are known as kind of like a group of fallen Nephilim hybrid children who fight demons, basically. That's what it is. So they're hybrids. And I noticed they have these angelic, they call them angelic runes, and they say this Odal rune is an angelic power rune, as they describe in their fan pages. But I was going, this is a very strange symbol, and they're putting it right on the chest, you know, right across. And why on the chest? Why on the heart? Why do they put this there? And so when we found out it was the swastika, I looked at the other shows that I had noticed it in. Just recently, in the last couple of weeks, I noticed that the Odal rune was also in the Sleepy Hollow show. And the main character they call the lieutenant in the Sleepy Hollow show was basically worshiping this rune. This is the rune that made her feel comfortable and safe and got her back from her little purgatory or whatever. And so it's a major part of that show now. So I've seen 2 shows that it's on. Then I found the spin-off Shadowhunters show of 2016 where the girls all have these kind of runes on their chest. The main themes I see going through when I see these themes is it matched up with the Lebensborn program. And what I want to explain is these shows that are putting this forward are putting forward the Lebensborn philosophy. The Lebensborn actually means fount of life. It was a Nazi eugenics program of what you would call taking your best stock of females and best stock of males, Aryan, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, and having children from them so that you have the healthiest stock. And this all goes back to our eugenics programs in America, back to even Lynchburg, Virginia, which was well known as a eugenics center before it became Liberty University and Jerry Falwell and all that. And you can do research on that. But the point of this was that this philosophy is here in our culture, the Nazi philosophy of the Lebensborn. It's being promoted with these Nephilim. Lebensborn would divide the group of people into 3 categories, and that would be desirable, acceptable, disposable. The Germanization program of the Lebensborn in 1939, they began kidnapping children from foreign countries, mainly Yugoslavia and Poland, and they were putting them into this Lebensborn program. What they did was the Nazis would take children from their parents in full view of their parents. The kidnapped children were administered several tests and then divided into these categories. And the children classified as unwanted were taken to concentration camps to work or to be killed. So you're seeing the same philosophy in these shows, these Shadowhunter shows. You have humans, just like Harry Potter had the magical people, that would be your Nephilim people. And the Muggles would be your unwanted, dumb humans, disposable. They're doing the same thing with these supernatural shows, with these Nephilim characters and the Muggle-type characters, and then hybrid kind of things. And what did we find with the historical pictures, Chris, with the girls that we found in the past?
The Lebensborn children had the swastika on their chest, right where their heart is on their uniforms. The older girls were dressed in very short dresses or shirts with the swastika without bras, just like the TV and movie characters wore the rune on their chest over their hearts. It's the same symbol of the swastika that the Lebensborn children wore on their chest over their hearts. This reminds me of Johnny Gosch, who was kidnapped in 1982. His mother was able to get leaked photos of him. He was branded like cattle with the Odal rune symbol, which was the last letter of the runic alphabet. It was Fa for cattle.
So you're saying that Odal rune is a cattle symbol?
Yes. It's all, it is the swastika, but it's also the cattle symbol, and we do see the old Egyptian artifacts with them all wearing bull's tails. And then Tammuz was a bull, Zeus was a bull and an eagle.
Well, it's like branding livestock. So these girls are branded as part of, they meet the grade. They're acceptable. They get the swastika.
Yeah, we wonder what is the deeper meaning of the swastika on the chest. And the mythical story is that Zeus sewed his son's heart in his leg. When the second generation Titans tried to rip his son Dionysus to pieces, all that was left was his heart. Zeus sewed it in his leg as Taurus the bull, and it became Ursa Major, where the 4 souls of Horus as Osiris are representing earth, wind, fire, and air in the 4 directions. So the center of the swastika is the pole star where Ursa Major spins around, representing the equinoxes and the solstices. It also represents as above, so below, with the triangle up and the triangle down, like the pyramid symbol coming together as the star, also meaning male and female coming together as one, as the Antichrist. As Zeus's son is male and female, he is Tammuz, the son of the sun and the moon. Dionysus is the same as Tammuz, as well as many other deities, as Hermes and Aphrodite, as hermaphrodite, male and female. That is why the Baphomet is a male and female, with you see the caduceus as the phallus and the breast on the Baphomet with the horns. That's why it says in the book of Acts 7:43, yeah, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remphan, which means Saturn, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. So Acts 7:43 is also coded because Shiva means 7. The 4 souls of Horus is part of the 7 stars of Ursa Major that makes the swastika. This is all part of DNA. It's a DNA code. This is the birthing of the new race that Lady Gaga was talking about. And this is why her name is coded with DNA, with the 4 souls of Horus, that we will talk about in part 2 of this show. But this is a DNA code of the Ogdoad. This has to do with the birthing of the new race, in which Lady Gaga sings about in her song, and you see the egg that she comes out of in her video, just like the Ogdoad.
It's very interesting just watching the transformation of America into this kind of a Nazi communist police state. That was also another one of these shows or a predictive program by Amazon. They came out with this show called The Man in the High Castle, which also said, what would America look like if Nazi Germany had won? So it's another one of these conditioning kind of things with the swastika. The main thing I noticed that came from Madame Blavatsky and The Secret Doctrine that Hitler read, of course, says that he misappropriated the symbol and used it for evil when it was never an evil symbol. And that's why Chris and I mentioned that some people associate it with good, some associate it with bad. But the point that you're seeing here, what I'm seeing right now with the Donald Trump situation and our elected officials, this race-baiting media that is stirring up the nations. You know, how the Bible talks about races will rise up and be against each other. And it's really these folks here, these pure-blood folks here, that use these Lebensborn type of view of life that have this Nazi philosophy of the pure blood and the unwanted. They use the terms that you've heard in the past, culling the herd, whereas in Iron Man 2, the movie, they said, we're going to thin out the herd. They look at people like cattle. God never looks at people like cattle. This is the angelic, fallen angelic realm talking through humans, demon-possessed, that look at humans as a waste of space, as just a herd. Man was never created to be looked at as cattle. This is the angels that were displaced, that lost their first estate. This is what we read in the Genesis 6 thing. This is what Adam was given authority over the earth. Of course, he lost it back to Lucifer, but the point is the angels hate God's creation, the image bearers, which is us. When you hear this stuff, when you hear people talking about culling their herd and cattle, thinning their herd, branding these poor actresses, they're getting these angelic symbols, but they're actually being branded with swastikas as acceptable breeders for the new future Antichrist Reich. It's really disturbing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're progressing to. The Nazi philosophy that is held by the ruling class, including the Vatican, through the Freemasons and the Nazi orders that are all around the globe, are going to fulfill their CERN ritual. And we will see what a true beast, which Hitler wanted to be, and which Obama wanted to be. We'll see what the true beast comes through that portal, or related to that portal in some way, be revealed. But then you're going to have your real dictator, your real High Hitler, and it's going to be a mess.
Speaking of CERN, I have a short clip that I want to play with Anthony Patch that we pre-recorded on February the 12th regarding this star system and CERN with the pole star and the Nazi bell. You said that you think when they're ready to hit the button that the Polaris star would have to be at a certain point.
Well, you know, that goes back to a discussion that you and I had a long time ago about
Polaris, the North Star, and you had asked me, does the Large Hadron Collider have to be in alignment with the North Star? And I hadn't really thought of that because that's more an area of your research than it is of mine, but it made a lot of sense to me. And as you began to describe how relating the movement around the North Star of the Little Dipper, and that it mimics, when you look at it graphically, that movement, that revolving around like a clock of the Dipper, that it looked like the Nazi swastika.
Yeah.
And that really opened my eyes because the connection is to the Nazi research, to the Nazi bell, to the Glock, the Nazi bell project. And I won't go into a long tangent on that, but the LHC is the outgrowth of the project known as the Bell from World War II and the Nazis' use of the occult and the rituals and getting information from the other side for their own military purposes. And that's what CERN is all about. It is an advancement. It's an outgrowth of that early Nazi research. So looking at a probable Nazi connection to the swastika and the North Star, Polaris, makes a lot of sense that there would be a reason for them to worship and use the swastika in that fashion and connect it to the Large Hadron Collider, because we know that they are totally into the occult and astrology. So there has to be an alignment on our calendar, in our time frame. There has to be an alignment with the North Star that is significant to what they want to do with the machine as to when they want to open that portal.
Okay, so that was pre-recorded on February 12th, and I have the full clip. I also have a Saturn Cube recording with Anthony that we will be posting very soon, so you can hear that whole clip. The first clip will be about the pole star connected to CERN. We know the pole star is the star that's in the center of the swastika. Stay tuned for those shows coming out. They're going to be very interesting. And also, if you want to know the full code of the 666 that's tied to these old runes, then you can get our book that's coming out called CERN Unos's Box. And we will be posting that on endtimesmatrixnews.com when that's available. And we will also post it on End Times Matrix News Facebook.
And in addition to those shows, we're going to be doing a special show on beast technology that will radically alter your view of how close we are to having the technology that's required to trap all of humanity within the web of technology. So that'll be an upcoming show also.
Right. That is going to be very interesting and eye-opening with virtual technology tied with the eye scanners, tied to this new quantum technology that I believe will come after destruction for the new peace.
So all this coming up to you in a short period of time, God willing. So thank you for listening to our show today. We appreciate everybody who leaves comments. We try to answer comments. Really enjoy getting the feedback and also talking with everybody out there. And we're just having a good time fellowshipping with our fellow viewers. Appreciate Chris with all her great animation and visuals. These are also the things that will be appearing in the Cernunnos box book. Lots of visuals, so you can see that. So thank you very much for today, Chris.
Thank you, and I have one verse before we go. In Romans 10:9, it says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is believing in your heart that you are made right with God and confessing with your mouth. With that verse, just know that this is the true love and heart of God, not the swastika, not these mythical stories of the heart of Dionysus, the hermaphrodite. This is Jesus Christ, and he is God, and he came to redeem us through his DNA, through his perfect blood, not these people that are trying to run the world thinking that they own this world through their bloodline of Cain, of their big bang that they call from 2600 BC, from the Ogdo that they want to raise again. because the Ogdode represents the swastika. It represents this pole star. And the 7 stars of the Pleiades, they transmit their spiritual energy of 7 rays from Horus, the resurrected Osiris, then to the 7 stars of the Great Bear Ursa Major, and then to Sirius, then to the womb of the Belt of Orion, and then to the Earth. So this is how they used to do it in the ancient times. It's the same thing that's going to happen with CERN. And we don't know the day or the hour, but we're watching these times unfold.
Amen. I absolutely looking forward to the return of Christ, and very appreciative for everyone. Thank you, and you have a great week.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.